we talked about last time the significance of the blood of the bull or the calf being sprinkled upon the altar first, and then secondarily upon the people. And that's the old covenant shadow. That's the shadowing down of the heavenly reality. And that order is significant because what we find in the true form of that heavenly reality when it comes is Christ first sprinkles his blood, and that's represented by the blood being sprinkled on the altar. The people of Israel had communion with God at the altar, and so it's representing and for signifying the blood of the God-man, Christ himself taking on, the Son of God taking on flesh and shedding his blood. And then secondarily, it's representing the blood being sprinkled upon, Christ's blood being sprinkled upon his people, and that order being significant because the true form of that is just what was mentioned. Christ shedding his blood on the cross, offering himself as the sacrifice to atone for sins, and then that blood sprinkling his people. We see that all, in a number of places, the sprinkling of his blood throughout the New Testament. Hebrews 10 speaks of the sprinkling of our hearts with a pure conscience and the washing of our bodies with water, speaking of both the visible sign of baptism, but also what it symbolizes, our hearts being sprinkled clean with a pure conscience. Or Hebrews 12 talks about the sprinkling of Christ's blood. 1 Peter 1 and 2, to Jesus Christ and the sprinkling with his blood. And so we recognize that's a mode of a proper mode of baptism. We know our Baptist brothers are immersion only, but these are some of the texts and others from the Old Testament, especially Exodus 24, that speak of it as being a proper mode of baptism. But that's what we have in the heavenly reality, is Christ himself sprinkling his own blood and upon us, upon his people. And that's being symbolized in baptism. That's so important to understand, is when we're sprinkled with water in baptism, that's what the symbol is. It's symbolizing that Christ's blood is washing us clean. It's washing our sins away. And that's so fundamental, really, in understanding what it's symbolizing. But I want to continue with Hebrews 9 for just a moment, because that blood that was sprinkled was not just sprinkled upon the people, it was also sprinkled upon the tent itself. That is the tabernacle. It was sprinkled upon all the vessels used in worship.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, under the law, almost everything is purified with blood. Now, this is fundamental. You have to understand that clearly there's no internal purification going on with the tent or with the vessels of worship. That purification there is talking about moving from the realm of the common to the realm of the holy.
Yeah.
These things were made with just earthly things, and they're just common things. But by sprinkling them with the blood, it was symbolizing that they were moving from the realm of the common to the realm of the holy to make them fit for use in worship.
Yeah.
And that was being symbolized there of the people too.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of the things it's symbolizing is that the people were being sprinkled with the blood, showing that they're being made fit for worship. They're being sanctified or purified as those who are fit for worship under this covenant. It's not it's not necessarily an internal renovative category of sanctification that we would find in the Ordo Salutis. And that's helpful to understand then what we were talking about last time with regard to that warning passage in the apostate who is profaning the blood of the covenant by which they were sanctified. That passage is not saying they were saved. They couldn't be saved, or else they wouldn't be falling away. When it's saying that they are profaning the blood by which they themselves were sanctified, it's not that internal sanctification, but rather it is talking about they had been moved from the realm of the common to the realm of the holy. They've entered into the covenant. And that occurred with their water baptism. Their baptism as an initiation rite moved them into the covenant. Now they're really already in the covenant by virtue of their profession of faith, or if it's an infant, by virtue of their being born to at least one believing parent. And they're already in the covenant. But we do recognize that the blood or that the water baptism is an initiation rite. It's the sign of the covenant, marking them as a member of the covenant. And it's symbolizing the blood of Christ, washing them clean. But it sets them apart as one who's moved from the common to the holy. And so now they're in this covenant, and now they're calling that blood, which is special and was symbolized in their baptism, they're now calling it common. They're profaning it.
Right.
It set them apart as not as holy in the covenant, just like 1 Corinthians 7, Paul says that even the child of one believing parent is made holy, sanctified. It's the same word. So too, this person's been marked as holy in the covenant, fit for worship, and now they're profaning the blood of the covenant, which was symbolized in their baptism. So we're not moving in any kind of Arminian direction here and suggesting that this person can lose their salvation. And nor are we saying that by virtue of their baptism, that now they are saved. As if it's Rome by the work worked. We're not suggesting any of these things by that. We're just saying, just as the pots and the vessels in the tent itself moved from the realm of the common to the holy, so the person water baptized, which is symbolizing the blood of the covenant being sprinkled upon them, have moved from the realm of the common to the holy. And now they're profaning that. And I think that was helpful for maybe our Baptist brothers who don't quite understand what we mean by these categories, or maybe even what the author's meaning by the use of sanctification or purification, that it's not always an internal purification.
Right.